Hi, it's Patrick Hutzel from intensivecarehotline.com, where we instantly improve the lives for families of critically ill patients in intensive care so that you can make informed decisions, have peace of mind, real power, real control, and so that you can influence decision making fast, even if you're not a doctor or a nurse in intensive care. This is another episode of Your Questions Answered, and in last week's episode I answered another question from one of our readers, and the question last week was, my dad is admitted into ICU due to pneumonia and sepsis. How do we move forward with my dad's care? You can check out last week's question by clicking on the link below this video. In today's episode of Your Questions Answered, I want to answer a question from one of my clients, Anna, as part of my one-on-one consulting and advocacy service. Anna is frustrated about the ICU team's negativity and vagueness about her dad's condition, and Anna is asking about the right approach so that her dad would have a positive outcome. So today's question is, the ICU team is thinking negative about my dad's condition. How do we deal with this? So here is what Anna writes. Hi Patrick, many thanks Patrick. I'll request a copy of the CT brain scan report today and will then be in touch regarding booking a convenient time to talk to you. I'll just need to arrange for my 1-year-old to be looked after so that we can talk in peace. The ICU team have continually asked us do we think Dad would find life post-illness acceptable? They said it would be an institutional life in a hospital setting on permanent oxygen support, that he would likely be in a wheelchair and not be able to walk far, that he would need personal care around the clock. Our response to that was that we felt Dad would accept an altered life as long as he had cognitive function, if he could read, watch movies, see his partner, children and grandchildren, have visitors, etc. He is psychologically a very strong person, and we felt he would choose life over death. In other words, we felt he could live with lung failure but would not want to live with brain failure. They said okay. In recent weeks, they have put the question to us again, saying, we don't think your dad will be able to eat or drink if he survives this because of risk of aspiration, and he may not be able to have a speaking valve on his tracheostomy. This has worried all of us, but particularly my stepmom. The consultant said yesterday, so we only have one facility in the county that could house your dad, or he would have to stay in ICU. That means an institutional existence for him, and we don't think that's in his best interest. I will be in touch as soon as I have the CT scan reports. Best wishes from Anna. So here is my response. Hi Anna, thank you for sending this through. I'm very sorry to hear that the meeting didn't go quite as planned. It's disappointing the consultant doesn't know what GCS your dad is currently having. I have attached a GCS or Glasgow Coma Scale score so you can have a look for yourself. It's a typical ICU situation. I have seen this hundreds of times, and it will all come down to your positioning and framing. As a next step, let's focus on a couple of things. Number 1, let me know when you want to get on the phone. Number 2, we will then focus on how you can remove the DNR. Number 3, we will also focus on how you can stop them from removing treatment. Number 4, get the CT brain report. And number 5, we can talk about why your dad potentially isn't waking up. Also, please have a look at the following 2 ebooks. The 5 mistakes you are unconsciously making if your critically ill loved one is in an induced coma and is not waking up. And another ebook that we have available is the 10 answers to the 10 most frequently asked questions when your loved one isn't waking up after an induced coma. Let me know when you are ready to talk. You can book a time or just let me know when it's convenient for you. Ideally, we'll speak before 1 p.m. today. So here's the response from Anna. Hi Patrick, thanks so much again for speaking to me this morning. So I've just arrived home from a rather frustrating meeting with one of the ICU consultants, Dr. Joffrey. My sister, brother and stepmom all met with him. He said he doesn't feel Dad has made any improvements neurologically this last week. He says they don't know why he isn't waking up and describes Dad as neurologically disabled. Conversely, my stepmom, sister and brother all said that they had noticed improvements this week, including squeezing their hand, following their conversation, smiling, laughing at family in-jokes as much as it's possible with a tracheostomy, and shaking his head to questions. Dr. Joffrey said they are just not seeing that in terms of reactions and responses. He said Dad doesn't respond consistently to commands by the medics and nursing team and that they would expect that by now. I asked what sedatives he was on when he was mechanically ventilated from the 27th of April to the 17th of May. Dad's nurse kindly collated them for me. He was on propofol, alfentanil, dexmedetomidine and remifentanil. He also said they still can't do an MRI as the pacemaker has kicked in a few times on the lower setting. They were hoping to remove it altogether and turned it down from 60 beats to 30, and of course the model is not compatible with the MRI machine. He said they remain massively concerned about his lung function and the fact that he doesn't have any reserves to draw on. He said they tried to take Dad off the ventilator yesterday, but that his breathing became labored and that his heart rate went up. His infection markers have come right down today. He said they would consider the infection gone. My brother pointed out that Dad has always struggled with coming off the ventilator when he's had an infection, but that once it goes, he tolerates it quite well. The doctor conceded that. They sat my dad in the chair today for a few hours, but he's very tired and isn't really responsive. I asked about where Dad scores on the Glasgow Coma scale. The consultant said it wasn't really relevant as Dad can't give a verbal response. He basically said he couldn't say. I asked, is it possible that Dad has critical care neuropathy post-sepsis syndrome? He said yes, we believe he has the former. I said, could that impact on his ability to wake up? He said yes. I asked what the CT scan showed and would it be possible to have a copy of the report. He said the report would say that it didn't find any evidence of a major stroke. I will press for a copy of the report if you think it would be useful. I asked why they did a lumbar puncture. He was a little bit vague, saying he knew it was discussed but hadn't realized it had been done. He said it would have been to look at the proteins. We were later told they were normal. My sister had asked, have they called in a neurologist to assess my dad, give a perspective? He said, isn't something they would normally do in Dad's case. He said the trouble with neurologists is that they would suggest lots of tests that take weeks and would also push for an MRI. He said he thought the cardiac arrests Dad had probably caused brain damage. Conversely, 2 other consultants categorically told me it wouldn't have, that they responded quickly. It reversed straight away, the quality of CPR was good and that his oxygen levels never dropped. It worries me that we are being given different interpretations. We asked, could we speak to a neurologist to at least put our question to him or her? We said we need to understand what has happened to Dad and that as his advocates we must explore everything, and he agreed. Dr. Joffrey said it is the consensus among the ICU team, ICU consultants, that Dad is not going to survive and that it's not in his best interest to keep supporting him. I think they would like to withdraw treatment. I asked what the position is regarding DNR on his file. Dr. Joffrey confirmed that he is DNR. We were never asked about that or gave consent or agreement. I said we were not comfortable supporting a DNR now that we have seen, albeit small, improvements. It was clear he didn't agree with us. We came away with few answers. It was all very vague and quite frustrating for us. We want to work well with the ICU team, so have always been respectful and appreciative of their time and efforts. However, I think we came away today feeling no better informed and that we had to fight for Dad once again. I'm looking forward to hearing from you and I'm going to respond to this in my next video. So, how can you become the best advocate for your critically ill loved one? How can you make informed decisions, get peace of mind, control, power and influence quickly whilst your loved one is critically ill in intensive care? you will get to that all-important feeling of making informed decisions, get peace of mind, control, power and influence when you download your free instant impact report now by entering your email below. In your free instant impact report, you will learn quickly how to make informed decisions, get peace of mind, real power and real control, and how you can influence decision making fast whilst your loved one is critically ill in intensive care. Your free instant impact report gives you in-depth insight that you must know whilst your loved one is critically ill or is even dying in intensive care. Sign up and download your free instant impact report now by entering your email below. In your free instant impact report, you will learn how to speak the secret intensive care language so that the doctors and the nurses know straight away that you are an insider and that you know and understand what's really happening in intensive care. In your free report, you will also discover how to ask the doctors and the nurses the right questions, discover the many competing interests in intensive care, and how your critically ill loved one's treatment may depend on those competing interests. How to eliminate fear, frustration, stress, struggle, and vulnerability even if your loved one is dying. You will get 5 mind-blowing tips and strategies helping you to get on the right path to making informed decisions, get peace of mind, control, power, and influence in your situation. You will get real-world examples that you can easily adapt to your critically ill loved one's situation. How to stop being intimidated by the intensive care team and how you will be seen as equals. You will get crucial behind-the-scenes insight so that you know and understand what's really happening in intensive care and how you need to manage doctors and nurses in intensive care, and it's not what you think. Thank you for tuning into this week's Your Questions Answered episode, and I'll see you again next week in another update. Make sure you also have a look at our blog section for more tips and strategies, or simply send me an email to support@intensivecarehotline.com with your questions. Also have a look at our membership site, intensivecaresupport.org, for families of critically ill patients in intensive care. You can also call me, find phone numbers on the top of the website. You can also have a look at our ebook section, and you can also have one-on-one consulting and advocacy with me over the phone, via Skype, via email, and via Zoom. Thank you for tuning into this week's blog. This is Patrick Hutzel from intensivecarehotline.com, and I'll talk to you in a few days.